Origins, Rosario, Argentina, the making of a prodigy. In the heart of Rosario, Argentina, where the Paraná River shimmers like liquid silver under the setting sun, a boy was born who would one day turn football into poetry. His name, Lionel Andrés Messi Cucchettini. He was small, quiet, and fragile, yet destiny had already whispered his name into the history of the sport. His father, Jorge, worked in a steel factory. His mother, Celia, cleaned houses to keep the family fed. They lived in a humble home where football wasn't a luxury. It was a language, and for Lionel, it was the only language that ever truly made sense. At the age of 5, his feet began to speak that language fluently. The ball followed him like a loyal companion, gliding across dusty streets and cracked pavements. But fate had a cruel twist waiting. At 10, doctors told him something no child should ever hear. He was too small to dream big. Growth hormone deficiency, they said. The treatment cost more than his father could ever earn. But legends are not built on comfort. They are forged in defiance. When local club Newell's Old Boys took him in, they saw not his size, but his fire. Every touch, every dribble, every flick of his left foot told a story of rebellion, a boy fighting not just opponents, but biology itself. His family sold what little they had to fund his treatment. And then came a call, a whisper from across the Atlantic: Barcelona. At just 13, the boy who once played barefoot in Rosario boarded a plane that would change football forever. Barcelona was a world of giants, and Messi, a small boy with a suitcase and a dream, stood among them in awe. His contract, signed on a napkin, promised him a chance and the medical care he desperately needed. He didn't speak the language. He barely spoke at all. But when his left foot touched the ball, every doubt vanished. He wasn't just playing football, he was painting with motion. His low center of gravity made him glide through defenders as if the world moved slower around him. And the coaches at La Masia, Barcelona's fabled academy, began to whisper that something divine had arrived. As the years passed, his treatment worked, his body grew stronger, but his heart, that remained pure, almost childlike. He didn't crave fame or fortune. He only wanted the ball, the grass, and the goal. Those who watched him train said he moved differently. Where others forced the game, Messi felt it, like an artist who hears music before he paints. By 2003, he was no longer the small boy from Rosario. He was the rising sun of a new era, ready to transform football forever. This is where the myth begins, not in stadiums, but in silence. A frail boy, a dream too big for his body, and a destiny that refused to be denied. Messi didn't choose greatness. Greatness chose him in the streets of Rosario. Barcelona, the kingdom of a boy king. When Lionel Messi arrived in Barcelona, he was just 13, small, shy, and unsure of the world. But the city, it had seen greatness before. It had seen legends rise and fade. What it had never seen was someone who could make time itself bow to the rhythm of a football. At La Masia, Barcelona's sacred academy, life was discipline wrapped in dreams. Every sunrise began with drills, tactics, and philosophy, el fútbol total. But Messi didn't learn football. He absorbed it, as if his body already knew what the ball wanted to do. He spoke little, but on the pitch, his silence became symphonies. It was here that destiny introduced him to his mentor, Ronaldinho. The Brazilian magician saw in the young Argentine not a rival, but an heir. He took Messi under his wing, protecting him from the weight of expectation, telling teammates, "This kid will do what no one else can do." In 2004, at just 17, Messi stepped onto the Camp Nou turf for the first time. When he touched the ball, something magical happened. Defenders froze, fans gasped, and history took its first breath. That first goal, chipped gracefully over the goalkeeper, was not just a score. It was a message. The boy from Rosario had arrived, and he was not leaving until football itself was reshaped in his image. Under coach Frank Rijkaard and later Pep Guardiola, Messi's world expanded. He learned positioning, patience, and perfection. He became the silent core of Barcelona's revolution, a system built not on ego, but on rhythm and intelligence. Then came tiki-taka, a style that turned football into ballet. Short passes, movement, and precision. And at its heart, Messi. Every touch, every glance was like a note in an endless melody. With Xavi orchestrating and Iniesta painting patterns beside him, Messi became the brush that completed the masterpiece. From 2008 to 2012, Barcelona didn't just win, they transcended. They played football the way poets write verses. Titles poured in like rain: La Liga, Champions League, Copa del Rey. But what made Messi different was not his trophies, it was his humility. He didn't celebrate like a conqueror, he smiled, like a boy still chasing joy. He wore the number 10, once carried by Maradona, but while Diego roared, Messi whispered. And his whisper echoed louder than any shout. By 2012, he had scored an unthinkable 91 goals in a single calendar year, breaking a record that had stood for 40 years. By the time the world took notice, Messi had already changed the DNA of football. Every child in Argentina, Spain, and beyond wanted to play like him, but none could replicate the mind behind the magic. His secret was never speed or strength. It was simplicity. He played as though complexity was the enemy and instinct was the only truth. Messi didn't chase fame, he chased perfection, and found it again and again. Barcelona became his kingdom, but he ruled without words. His crown was not gold, it was the sound of fans chanting his name in unison. Messi, Messi, Messi. As the camera pulls away from the roaring Camp Nou, the voice fades into orchestral rise, a tone of triumph, grace, and inevitability. The boy had become a king. But beyond every kingdom lies the storm of destiny, and Messi's was only beginning. The rivalry of the century. Messi versus Ronaldo. Fire and ice. In the grand theater of football, no rivalry burned brighter nor lasted longer than that of Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo. Two men, two philosophies, two forces of nature destined to collide. Messi, quiet, instinctive, born with genius. Ronaldo, disciplined, relentless, born from obsession. Together, they rewrote what it meant to be great, and in doing so, they divided the world. While Messi sculpted art on the pitch, Ronaldo forged power through will. Every time Messi dribbled past defenders with divine ease, Ronaldo responded with thunder. Goals born of sweat, strength, and precision. Their rivalry wasn't hatred, it was evolution. Because of each other, they ascended beyond mortal greatness, into mythology. For 12 years, La Liga became a battlefield between Barcelona and Real Madrid. Each El Clasico wasn't just a match, it was a global ritual. Billions tuned in, not to watch football, but to witness destiny unfold in real time. From 2008 to 2020, No other player came close. Between them, they shared 12 Ballon d'Or titles, 6 for Messi, 5 for Ronaldo, until Messi took the lead again. Every goal, every assist, every trophy became a line in an endless debate. Who is the greatest? But while the world argued, both men thrived. Their rivalry became football's greatest marketing engine. Sponsorships, endorsements, and global streaming rights skyrocketed. Together, they turned passion into an economy, a billion-dollar empire built on competition. Off the pitch, their lives mirrored their philosophies. Ronaldo, sculpted, glamorous, driven by image and excellence. Messi, quiet, family-centered, almost shy in fame. But both understood one truth: the pitch was their kingdom, and numbers were their language. By 2018, Messi's Barcelona contract made him the highest-paid athlete on earth, over $130 million annually. Ronaldo's move to Juventus expanded his global brand into untapped markets. Each decision, each move, was not just football, it was strategy. Yet even amid their cosmic success, Messi remained different. His drive was never image, it was purpose. While Ronaldo chased perfection through control, Messi achieved it through surrender. He didn't force magic, he let it happen. And that difference, subtle yet powerful, defined their legacies. When Ronaldo left Spain in 2018, an era ended. For the first time in over a decade, the rivalry that fueled the world had no stage. But its echoes remained in every highlight reel, every child's dream, every argument whispered in bars across continents. In the end, history will not remember who scored more. It will remember what they gave the world: belief. That greatness is not one path, but two very different journeys leading to the same mountaintop. Ronaldo, fire; Messi, ice. Two forces forever locked in time. Music swells into orchestral climax, then fades into soft piano. As the light dims, Messi stands in an empty stadium, alone with his thoughts. Not as a rival, but as a legend shaped by one. The fall and the rise again, from Barcelona's end to a new beginning. August 2021. After more than 2 decades, over 700 goals, 34 trophies, and countless moments of magic, Lionel Messi, the heartbeat of FC Barcelona, stood on a stage, tears streaming down his face. The unthinkable had happened. Financial turmoil at the club, strangled by mismanagement and La Liga's salary cap, meant they could no longer register their greatest player. The cameras captured it all: Messi's trembling hands, his wife wiping tears beside him, the silence of a man whose soul had been stitched to a jersey since boyhood. That day, football lost its poetry. The bond between artist and canvas had been torn apart by numbers, by balance sheets and bureaucracy. But Messi's story, as history would prove, was never about endings. It was about transformation. In Paris, under the bright lights of the Parc des Princes, he would rise again. With Neymar and Mbappé, he became part of a new constellation, a galactic trio that mesmerized the world. And beyond the field, his empire only grew. His deal with PSG wasn't just a contract, it was a financial masterstroke. Between endorsements from Adidas, Pepsi, and Budweiser, his lifetime brand value, and equity stakes in ventures like Messi Experience Parks, Team Messi fashion lines, and interests in football academies across the world, Lionel Messi quietly crossed into billionaire territory. Yet in private, he remained unchanged, soft-spoken, grounded, devoted to family and football. The Messi empire was never built on arrogance, but authenticity. He didn't just play the game, he honored it. From heartbreak in Barcelona to triumph in Paris, Messi's journey became a symbol of reinvention, proof that even the mightiest fall only to rise higher. And soon the world would witness his greatest moment yet, a World Cup in Qatar that sealed immortality. The World Cup Redemption, Qatar 2022, and the GOAT's final coronation. December 18, 2022. The stage was set beneath the golden lights of Lusail Stadium, Qatar, a cathedral built for a story written in the stars. For Lionel Messi, this was more than a football match. It was destiny calling, a full-circle moment after 17 years of heartbreak, criticism, and near misses. The boy from Rosario, once told he was too small to dream big, now stood one victory away from completing football's greatest prophecy. The camera lingered on him in the tunnel, eyes calm, face unshaken. Around him, the young Argentine squad looked not at a captain, but at a father figure. They had grown up watching him, now they would fight for him. The whistle blew. France, the defending champions, stood ready to destroy fairy tales. But Messi was different now. He no longer ran to prove himself. He flowed with purpose, a man playing chess on a field of chaos. Every touch whispered intelligence, every pass a message. I am not done yet. In the 23rd minute, Messi stepped forward for a penalty. The air froze. With a gentle stride and that familiar flick of the left foot, goal, Argentina led. The stadium erupted in white and blue, but Messi's face remained composed. He knew this battle wasn't over. Mbappé struck twice, then thrice. The French comeback turned the dream into a nightmare again. The ghosts of 2014, the final loss to Germany, seemed to creep back, but this time Messi refused to surrender to fate. Not again, his eyes seemed to say. In extra time, with exhaustion written on every face, Messi found himself before the net once more. The rebound fell kindly. The shot, pure instinct. Goal! Argentina 3, France 2. History trembled. Yet Mbappé answered again, forcing penalties. And when the final whistle blew after 120 minutes of chaos, the world held its breath. In that moment, silence. Messi stood still. Years of failure, criticism, and doubt condensed into that tiny space between hope and heartbreak. Then, with grace only the great possess, he watched his teammates finish the job. Argentina, champions of the world. As Gonzalo Montiel's final penalty hit the net, Messi collapsed to his knees, smiling through the tears. His teammates surrounded him, a sea of white and blue, of love and redemption. The little boy who once needed growth hormones had become the tallest man on earth. When he finally lifted the World Cup trophy, the scene was divine, golden confetti swirling like angels in the desert wind. In that instant, the debate ended. Messi was not just football's greatest, he was its spirit, the living embodiment of artistry, humility, and resilience. And when he knelt on the grass, whispering a prayer, the world understood. Lionel Messi's empire was never just about wealth or fame. It was about finishing the story, his way. The empire beyond the pitch, Messi's business, legacy, and billion-dollar future. After the golden lights of Lusail faded and the echoes of celebration dissolved into memory, Lionel Messi stood at the summit of human achievement. But this was not the end. It was the quiet beginning of a new empire. The world had seen Messi the magician, the genius with a ball at his feet. Now they would meet Messi the builder, the architect of a billion-dollar legacy. For nearly 2 decades, Messi had been more than an athlete. He was a global brand, a symbol of humility wrapped in excellence. His quiet persona, rare in an age of arrogance, had paradoxically made him the most marketable athlete on earth. From Adidas, which built entire campaigns around his name, to Pepsi, Gatorade, Budweiser, and Lay's, every brand wanted a piece of the man who redefined consistency. In 2022, Forbes listed Messi as the highest-paid athlete in the world, earning over $130 million, more than LeBron, Ronaldo, and Federer combined. But behind those numbers was strategy, precision as elegant as his dribbles. While others chased fast money, Messi built long-term value. His investment portfolio quietly grew, from real estate in Barcelona and Ibiza to stakes in eco-friendly tech companies and sports ventures. In 2019, he founded the Messi Store, a premium lifestyle brand blending fashion with philanthropy. Each collection carried his initials, but more importantly, his values: simplicity, quality, and quiet confidence. And then came Inter Miami. When Messi shocked the world by signing for the MLS club in 2023, people saw a football decision. Economists saw an empire move. His contract wasn't just about salary. It included ownership stakes, revenue share from Apple TV's MLS deal, and a percentage from Adidas jersey sales. Overnight, Inter Miami's valuation skyrocketed, from $600 million to over $1.5 billion. Stadiums sold out, subscriptions surged. The Messi effect turned an American league into a global product. Experts began whispering the same prediction once reserved for tech visionaries. Messi could become football's first trillionaire in lifetime value. Yet the beauty of his story lies not in wealth, but in what he does with it. Through the Leo Messi Foundation, he's built hospitals, funded child education in South America, and supported UNICEF projects since 2010. His approach to charity mirrors his play style: quiet, effective, and selfless. No drama, no noise, just results. Beyond business and philanthropy, he's crafting something even rarer: cultural immortality. From murals in Bangladesh to songs in Nigeria and statues in Paris, his influence transcends sport. Analysts estimate his brand's lifetime economic impact exceeds $10 billion, not just in endorsements, but in the industries, products, and opportunities his presence ignites. In a world where athletes often fade after retirement, Messi is doing something extraordinary, turning his legend into infrastructure. His new vision: to inspire youth academies across Latin America, merge sports with education, and create sustainable social change. When asked once what he'll do after football, Messi smiled and said, "I don't know, but I'll always be close to the ball." The world understood. The ball wasn't just leather and air, it was destiny itself. Lionel Messi's legacy is no longer measured by trophies or goals. It's measured by the millions of lives he's inspired and the billions of hearts that beat a little faster every time he touches the ball. From Rosario's narrow streets to Miami's palm-lined boulevards, the journey continues. Messi, the football billionaire wizard, remains proof that greatness, when guided by grace, becomes eternal. The final legacy: Messi, immortality, and the blueprint for greatness. In every generation, a few souls are born not merely to live, but to change the rhythm of existence. Messi is one of them. His story began with frailty. A small boy from Rosario, Argentina, diagnosed with a growth hormone deficiency. His parents couldn't afford the treatment. His future, at that time, was a fading light. But from that vulnerability came something divine, a determination forged in silence, humility, and pain. From the narrow streets of La Bajada, he dreamed not of fame or wealth, but of a chance. That chance came when Barcelona took a risk that would change both their destinies. The world would watch that small boy grow, not just in stature, but in spirit, becoming the most complete footballer the game had ever seen. Yet what most people forget is that Messi's greatest magic was never only in his goals or dribbles, it was in his balance. Balance between power and grace, glory and gratitude, success and simplicity. As the years turned, Messi became the mirror of human aspiration, proof that one could be the best in the world and still remain humble. When he lifted the World Cup in Qatar, the image felt less like a triumph and more like a prophecy fulfilled. A child who once struggled to grow had now become a symbol of growth for billions. But what happens when greatness reaches its peak? What does a man like Messi chase after conquering everything? For most, it would be retirement, comfort, and nostalgia. For Messi, it became evolution. He turned his focus inward, towards legacy, longevity, and leadership. The Messi brand, now a billion-dollar enterprise, is more than a name. It's a philosophy that greatness is built, not born. Through investments in education, youth academies, renewable technology, and health initiatives, Messi began redefining what influence truly means in the 21st century. Analysts estimate that if Messi continues his business expansion trajectory through the next decade, his net worth could surpass $2 billion, putting him alongside global moguls who built empires from vision, not inheritance. But unlike many billionaires, Messi's fortune doesn't feel like dominance, it feels like legacy distribution. Each foundation, academy, and business he touches spreads opportunity. In a time where wealth often divides, Messi's empire seems to unite. His quiet leadership style, absent of controversy, politics, or ego, is now studied by economists and psychologists alike. Harvard Business Review once called it the humility model of global influence. Because Messi never shouted, he showed. Never boasted, he proved. And in doing so, he crafted a model for how influence can be timeless without being loud. As he stands at the twilight of his football career, the next chapter feels almost celestial. Analysts predict Messi's ventures, especially his MLS ownership stakes, digital licensing, and lifetime deals, could generate over $10 billion in lifetime value. But beyond the economics lies the essence of the man. The same child from Rosario, who once chased a ball through dust and dreams, still lives within him. When asked recently what keeps him grounded, Messi said softly, "My family, my children, they remind me that football is beautiful only when it's shared." That, more than any trophy, defines his immortality. Long after the goals fade, after the records are broken, and after the cheers turn to echoes, Messi's influence will linger. In every academy that trains a dreamer, every street footballer who plays barefoot, every child who believes small beginnings can still lead to greatness. The boy who once feared he'd stop growing grew into the greatest of all time. His name, Messi, will outlive the game itself. Because legends score goals, but only myths like Messi rewrite destiny. And so, as this story closes, the music fades not into silence, but into eternity. The eternal hum of a billion hearts whispering one name. Lionel Messi, the GOAT, the football billionaire wizard. Messi, the football billionaire wizard, the GOAT. In the end, football is not just a game. It is poetry written on grass, with sweat for ink, and Messi has been its finest poet. From Rosario's dust to the stars of Qatar, from heartbreaks to halos, his journey reminds the world that greatness isn't about being perfect. It's about persistence. Messi's story isn't one of privilege, but of proof that humility can still conquer ambition, and silence can still echo louder than pride. He never demanded the spotlight. The spotlight followed him. And in every touch, every assist, every quiet celebration, he showed what humanity looks like at its best: focused, graceful, and endlessly giving. He didn't just play football. He redefined what it means to be human at the edge of perfection. Today, Lionel Messi stands not only as the greatest footballer of all time, but as a symbol of what happens when talent meets humility and passion meets purpose. His wealth is not just in billions, it's in billions of hearts. Because true fortune is not counted in dollars, but in impact. This is not just his story, it's a reminder of what we can all become when we choose love over fear, work over words, and dreams over doubt. You've been watching Factsxup, where we decode the lives, wealth, and wisdom of those shaping our world. Subscribe, stay curious, and remember, the next story might just be yours.